Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
No cast. So what, I guess start there. What's sort of the update and what are you able to do now at this point in your rehab?
Got my cast off about almost 2 weeks now. Just trying to move it. That's it. Trying to get the range of motion. So hopefully that comes back in the next couple of weeks, and then we go from there.
Just how does being in a cast affect an offseason? I'm sure it did, but just how does that kind of go through everything from a conditioning standpoint, what you can and can't do, just all of that?
So there's no basketball, there's no golf, there's little beach. So, I mean, it's just kind of just staying out the way. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be being in the cast for 3 months or pretty much your whole off season. But was still able to, get work on my body, work on my legs, still being able to run and do conditioning. So as far as that part, I could really do anything besides grab anything with my left hand. Yeah. Yeah, there's different ways to squat. You got leg press, our strength coaches there, a little bit too smart for me sometimes, which I wish they couldn't figure out these different ways to torture me, but it's all good. Yeah.
Steve McGarvey, Associated Press. First, I was into the source of the injury. Is that something you were playing through last season with the wrist? And also, I was just wondering, are you expecting to not necessarily be ready for the start of the season? Or are you still holding out hope of being ready for the start of the regular season, or how that goes?
The wrist injury happened, I think, sometime around after All-Star break. I just felt it during one game and kind of just never went away. It wasn't too painful. It was just something that was going to have to be fixed at some point. But in regards to, this season, is that, I don't think I would be ready for the start of the season, hopefully, soon after that.
He kind of stole my question, but Jamal Collier from ESPN. Do you have then any kind of target date, like, as far as when you would like to play, or are you kind of just going?
I would just say hopefully it's closer to the start of the season. I know it won't be, that week, but hopefully, sometime soon after that. But once again, that's just one of those things where you have to feel it out. You have to listen to the doctors, listen to, my PT guy, and go from there. But hopefully I won't miss too much of the season.
Then when you reflected on your own personal season, individual season, I think that maybe at exit interviews, you said there were some things that thought you could have done better or maybe you weren't happy with, but just kind of what things this offseason did you look back on or focus in on just when you thought about your own performance last year?
Yeah, it was the same thing. The tough part about it is that, I wasn't able to actually work on those things because I was in the cast. So just mentally, I was just able to, try to refresh myself, try to teach myself new things by walking through things or watching videos and whatnot, just doing film or whatever, but not being able to work on those things were tough. So hopefully I'll be able to get, a good cram session, once I'm able to get cleared to touch the basketball and whatnot.
Lance Allen, WTMJ. Chris, obviously there was absolutely nothing you could do about it, but how do you reflect when you hear your teammates and your coaches say, if we would have been healthy, we could have won it all, or we could have defended our championship? And how does it make you feel that a lot of times teams make changes, but it's like almost everybody, for the most part, is back because they believe in you guys?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge confidence boost, not just for myself, but the whole team to have that feeling and that belief from, your coaching staff and your front office guys that we were good enough. We just weren't healthy. Not saying that we were going to win, but to have a great shot of competing for a championship. I think in this league, that's what you want to be in, that certain group that has a chance to win, and then just have to go out there and prove it once that time comes. So for everybody coming back, I think it's huge. I think I've said this a couple of years ago, it's like, we know the regular season is tough, that we have to get through the regular season. But I think a lot of teams in our position are judged off our playoff, what we do in the playoffs, if we succeed, if we fail. But we know we can't get there without the regular season, building great habits, not focusing on the end goal, but, working ourselves to get there every day. To be able to get rest towards the end of the season. So I won't say that, the regular season doesn't mean anything because the East is so much tougher this year. I think that everybody's seen. So it's not going to be easy getting there. So we're going to be tested every night and we have to be ready for that. But that's just going to prepare us for the playoffs.
I know you always say you're never surprised by anything Giannis does, but I am curious what did you see from him that little bit you were overseas in Eurobasket? Obviously, he's asked to do different things. It's a different style.
Yeah. Just, how tough it is for him with that style of play. Knowing how we play, I've played in that style, the Eurobasket FIBA rules, but seeing the way he has to attack is a little bit different than he has to over here. But with that being said, is that he's still dominant. I mean, you have no defensive 3 seconds, so he has another 2 defenders waiting on him at the rim, just sitting there, and he's still able to get 20, 30 plus points with 10 assists. I mean, that just shows what type of player he is, how he's able to adapt, how he's able to still control and dominate games no matter what the rules are.
You mentioned the East being so much tougher this year. You've been in this conference a while. Just how much more difficult do you think the conference is now since maybe you've been around, and how much do you think maybe it's evened itself out with the West?
With the West, I mean, I don't know much. You always have your top couple teams, but I feel like in the East this year, I mean, even your younger teams in Detroit and Indy, they still have some great pieces, some great young guys that can play, not excluding anybody else. So I mean, from top to bottom, the East is really tough, and I like that. That makes things interesting, things fun. We're a competitive bunch, so I think we're gonna be ready for it.
Bud said that he thinks 16 players from last year being back on the roster this year is the record he's ever seen from like 30 years in the game. He's never had something like that. So as one of the leaders for the team, like how do you try to keep it fresh? Like you all know each other, you've all seen each other, you probably know what each other do in practice and how you play. Like how do you try to keep it fresh?
I don't know if we're talking about this, but fresh, I feel like we had a longer off season that we normally have. So, I mean, it seemed like we saw a lot of fresh new bodies or faces in there because we've only been used to getting the last 2-3 years, maybe 2 months off when we're right back in each other's faces. So to get a break, but to have everybody back is huge. I think it helps speed things along. And just knowing what to expect from everybody, hoping everybody's worked in the game, hoping everybody has improved or whatnot. But to have 16 guys come back, I think I haven't had that either.
Darius Joshua CBS 58. Chris, with all those additions, or all those returners, rather, excuse me, obviously what those guys can bring to the team pretty well. But what do you feel like Joe can bring to the team as another guy when he rejoined you all in the second half of the season?
Just a huge competitor. I think everybody knows about him and his trash talk. Well, maybe not, but playing against him, he's a competitor, likes to compete. But a guy that, is extremely skilled, very smart, can create a lot, can make the game easier for everybody on the court, can stretch the floor and shoot it with the best of them. So to have another big forward that can, can handle, that can shoot, that can pass, that can do a little bit of everything, I think it just makes our team so much deeper and so much tougher to guard. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, guys.